are investigating a deadly car ramming incident. At least 10 people have been killed and more than 30 others injured after a driver rammed a pickup truck into a crowd during New Year's celebrations. Witnesses report seeing a vehicle crashing into a large group of people gathered on Bourbon Street at the tail end of the city's New Year's celebration. The driver then got out of the vehicle and started firing a weapon. New Orleans police chief says the suspect was hell-bent on creating carnage and damage.
This man was trying to run over as many people as he possibly could. It was not a DUI situation. This is a more complex and more serious based on the information we have right now.
And CNN is reporting that the suspect is dead. The FBI is also investigating possible improvised explosive devices at the scene. The injured have been taken to 5 hospitals in the area. The White House says President Joe Biden has been briefed on the incident and has been in contact with local officials to offer support. Let's bring in Chris Lewis, CTV News public safety analyst and former OPP commissioner. Chris, thank you very much for being here. 10 people have been killed. 2 officers have been shot. Your thoughts on this tragic situation that took place on Bourbon Street?
Good morning, Renee. You know, it's a real tragic way to ring in the new year for the United States of America, to have another mass murder right on the streets of the city where people are enjoying themselves and celebrating the new year. A lot of unknowns at this point. I mean, until a few minutes ago, we didn't even know what had occurred with the shooter. Apparently, he's dead. But at one point, they weren't saying anything about where he was. We don't know anything about the motive at this point. We just know that the FBI is taking the lead, and they'll verify whether or not it was a terrorist act. But at the very least, it's a mass murder and many, many people injured, and just a horrific night for New Orleans.
Now, police were reportedly out in full force anyway, due to the fact that there were New Year's celebrations going on. How could this have happened with such a wide police presence?
Yeah, and you know, it's one of those things that we've gone through so many times in the past with vehicular attacks. How do you stop everything from possibly occurring? How do you prevent anyone from getting up on a sidewalk like in Yonge Street several years ago, or many other cases? You just can't stop it all. I would imagine at 3 o'clock in the morning, it may have been a little bit more relaxed. There was some barricades there, but apparently he got around them with a pickup truck. So why was that? They'll have to sort that out and analyze that in the days to come. But the bottom line is, if it hadn't have occurred there, it would have occurred somewhere else if this person was hell-bent on killing people, because you just can't solidify the entire world to make it all safe.
Now, there is some conflicting information coming out on this. The mayor of New Orleans called it a terrorist attack. The FBI later said that it was not. What is your assessment of this?
Well, you know, the only difference between a terrorist attack and a mass murder is motive. And so they don't know the motive at this point. Unless he said something before he died, or unless an investigation shows he has ties to a specific ideology or specific group, they really won't know why this occurred. So the FBI is taking the lead to either determine that it was a terrorist act or not, and also because they're investigating the possibility of IEDs either in the vehicle or around it somewhere, which may not mean anything other than they're kind of unknown devices or backpacks or something very innocent potentially. But they'll sort that all out. But the bottom line is, if it was religiously based or politically based, that was the intent for this, then that meets the definition of terrorism. Otherwise, it's just a horrific mass murder.
So where does the investigation go from here?
Well, trying to find out as much about the suspect as possible, whether or not he or she, I believe it was a he, had other people involved in some way. Where did the truck come from? Who owned it? Where did the gun come from? Who else knew? Once again, what was the motive? They'll be looking at what did he say, if anything, at the time, his online involvement, what do friends, associates, co-workers say about what he may or may not have kind of had that made him tick, and a whole pile of other things to really focus on the why, the who, the why, and for what reason, and using what implements and who provided them are very key. Particularly, is there someone else involved? because that means if there may be some ongoing threat to the community, and a day when there's going to be a huge presence because of the big football game that's occurring there today.
That is our time. We will have to leave it there. Chris, thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you, Renee.
That